I was born in Iran, grew up in Afghanistan, and somehow I ended up following Jesus. And this is my story. I was born in Iran in an immigrant Afghan family. I was in Iran until I was third grade. Then after 9/11, my family, we had to move back to Afghanistan because as born and raised immigrants in Iran, the Iranian government wouldn't allow Afghan immigrants to buy a property or pursue higher education. And my family didn't see a future in Iran, so we had to go back to Afghanistan. We moved to the south part of Afghanistan, and at that point, it was after 9/11. There were Afghan government, police, national army, NATO allies, and American forces. On the other hand, there were Taliban and other groups that were fighting against the Afghan government. So I skipped a grade in Afghanistan. I don't know how, and don't ask me why. I went directly to fifth grade. South part of Afghanistan, well, obviously all of it, but we were in an ultra-religious Islamic community. I was going 5 times to pray at mosque, or 3 times. I was fasting 30 days a year. It was brutal. The weather was hot. I don't recommend it. That we had no power, so extremely difficult situation for all of them, anyone who was there. Then I was also memorizing Quran. I memorized Surah Al-Baqarah, which is the largest surah of Quran, and also memorized other smaller chapters. I was extremely devoted, as someone devoted can be to anything, basically. Then I was 14, 15. I was at school one day, and then I saw American soldiers came to the school for whatever reason, and I started talking to some of them. And I was asking them questions, just where they are from, what they were doing, and we had a good casual conversation. And when I went back home that night, I would turn on the TV and see that the news would say there were American soldiers were killed. In my mind, I would immediately think of the soldiers that I was just speaking to, maybe they're dead. And that hits me hard. Also, on the other hand, I would see my own local community, civilian people, that they would get bombed out and over, and I knew that they were innocent. And that was hitting me harder too. So I was seeing suffering on both sides. Evil is evil. It doesn't matter which side. But then I formed this statement or objection toward God. I was like, the God of Islam, if you have created everything, then you give a set of rules and law, and then you're going to judge us, and well knowing you're going to judge us, that all of us, we will fail, we will sin internally, our mind, our body, our actions, and then you're going to judge me, and then well knowing I will fail, then you're going to throw me in hell, and even worse than that, the people that I love. Even if I make my way to heaven, what's going to happen to the people that I love? Then even if I go to heaven, if my brother, if my family, if my friends, they are in hell, I want to go back to hell and hang out with the people that I love. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make sense logically. I deeply understand there are nuances in Islamic theology. I don't want to get into that into this video about Sunnis, Shias, different sects, and how they interpret salvation. We're going to maybe cover that in the next video or so. But logically, it doesn't make sense. Now, I was 15, and that question stuck with me. Internally, I think I started some detachment from Islam, but obviously, explicitly, I didn't have the freedom to go research. I didn't have the freedom to try find resources. It was pretty limited. Internet was new. After I graduated high school, I went to study anthropology at college, but the anthropology we were studying was pretty wrong. So they wouldn't teach you about evolution, natural selection, Darwin, none of that. And then they eliminate the curriculum. They just make it more Islamic, basically, which at that point you don't want to call that anthropology. You may as well call it anything else. But I was curious enough to understand that, and then I was researching online a lot. I was reading books, and then I came across the book from Richard Dawkins, Selfish Gene, and Stephen Hawking, and all of these people, like basically the New Age movement. And it made sense to me because the objection that I had, atheism provided sufficient answers at that time, which was, well, nobody cares. There's nothing. After I die, there's a black screen, and I'm okay with that. I just want to live my life. So atheism, agnostic, I don't know exactly where I was in. I was either in between both or, one category or the other. But I officially had left Islam. So fast forward, I moved to the United States when I was 21. I've been here for 9 years. When I moved here, I didn't want to do anything with religion. I just wanted to pursue American dream. I love the freedom. And I just wanted to be a good person, go to school, follow the American way, which is amazing. I love this country. And I didn't want to even talk about religion. I had religious fatigue. So anytime anyone would try to mention anything about religion, because I've seen it firsthand, I've seen it with my own eyes, that how brutal the nature is, how there is no feelings in nature. There is nothing. You either die or you live. And I didn't want to talk about none of that. But at the same time, something internally happened to me. I'm in a new country. The people that I love, I just left. For what? To come here, make money, achieve the American dream. And even if I achieve it, and God has blessed me to achieve it, then what else? I'm going to do this, but at the same time, I'm away from the people that I love, and I can't make sense of this love. Then somehow during COVID, I came across one of Jordan Peterson's videos. I know he's not in a good health right now. I pray that he gains his health. His series on psychological significance of biblical stories, during COVID, I watched them. And what I've learned from that was we can look at the different texts from a non-religious perspective, and it may reveal some wisdom for us. And I really enjoyed it. So from psychological angles, Jordan Peterson was analyzing Old Testament. It was very cool. I was like, oh, this is cool. At the same time, he also introduced me to great thinkers, Dostoevsky, Carl Jung, Nietzsche, Freud, all of them. And I started to read more about them. And the more I read, the more I learned to think logically, to be able to differentiate different contexts, basically, and I think that's very important to at least try to think without having presuppositions or without having some axioms or ontology or like our gut pre-reflective intuition. We have to examine those. So I learned that from just reading. Then I was like, the next logical step is to look at where I'm standing in life. I believe there's a black screen, and I already knew about, the Big Bang and all of that, but when I looked at the universe at that time, I was like, so we see that there is order, chaos, the whole debate on that, people could debate their ears off on that, which I'm not trying to do here. But it's pretty, to me, at that time I was like, there is order, there is chaos, but in the chaos I see order. And for that order to be applicable on different level of reality, in math, in our communication, it is too orderly in this chaos. And there is an intelligent design behind it. It was logical for me at that time to reach out to that conclusion. So then the next step was, okay, if logically this makes sense, but still it's not sufficient. It's not giving me the answer for the question that I had, like death and love. I didn't pick up a Bible to just read, because I knew Jesus. I had this presupposition that, from what I've learned in Islam, Jesus is a prophet. He made miracles. He did miracles. In Islamic theology, he's a prophet. He's the messenger of Allah. And but he wasn't crucified. Someone else got crucified on his step, and then he went. He's another prophet, and then Muhammad comes, and so on and so forth. So that was my understanding about Jesus, and I didn't pick up a Bible. Then I was just living my life, just enjoying the American dream. And one day, surprisingly, I met someone at a college, or I think it was a college graduation party, and we started talking. And then we just started talking about anything, basically. But then he invited me over to his house. We had great dinners, great time. And one day he gave me if you guys can see it, it's a Bible, but in Dari. And he gave me the Bible. And in that moment, I was thinking, because I was already questioning atheism, and then this guy comes up, and he's very brilliant. Probably, I would say he's gifted, very high IQ. He gave me this book, and I was like, this guy, because I was thinking I already know Bible. It's another religious text. This guy with his high IQ is giving me this. Maybe I should not dismiss it so quickly. So I got the Bible, but I didn't read it the next day or anything. It was just sitting there, and I was again trying to wrestle with my own questions. And every time I would read about great thinkers, they would make a claim and they can back it up. From Dostoevsky, Nietzsche, I was like, wow, yeah, they can back it up. But then one day somewhere, I read a quote from Jesus that the truth shall set you free. And I was like, he is saying that the truth shall set you free. And also he says, I'm the truth, I'm the way and the life. And these statements, I want to investigate it for myself. He can back it up, It's kind of silly even thinking about it now, but I was like, okay, you are saying that you are the truth. You're not saying that this is the truth or that way is the truth. You're saying I'm the truth, I'm the way. So let me investigate to see if you can back up your claim. Then I started with the New Testament. I skipped the Old Testament. And I had another problem as well at that time. I didn't know if I could trust the Bible because it was written, 2,000 years ago. All of those questions. If, this video will be so lengthy if I want to talk about it. But if you want to check it out, definitely check out Westhoff. He can explain it better than I can. But at that time, I didn't know Westhoff. I didn't know anything. So I did my own research, and I came to this conclusion that yes, the four Gospels, basically, they're reports, eyewitness accounts, and they are not corrupted. So, which means I can read it and take it seriously for the first time. So I started reading just different chapters. Actually, I didn't start in order. I would just pick up the New Testament, open it, read a story from Jesus. And as I was reading it like that, internally, some of the questions for death and love that I had was starting to make sense. Not in an articulate way, but I was like, wow, this really happened. And surprisingly, in Afghanistan, at the libraries, at that time when I was there, I don't know about now, but I could find the book from Hitler that he has written, but I couldn't find a gospel or a Bible. And I was like, well, this text that is talking about this is not available there. That would be another video. That's why it's not there. But for me, it was so surprising to just realize that in that moment. So first time I just researched, read Bible, sporadically here and there. And then last year, the when I investigated, when he says, I'm the truth, I could reach out to this conclusion that he is the truth. And when I hit that point about all of his claims, and the meta narrative or the meta truth of Jesus Christ, I gave my life to him last year. And I was baptized, and I felt like a person that has been fighting on the battlefield without having a base or without finding his base. And when the moment I realized that I have a base, and that is Jesus Christ, I came back to the base from fighting, and then I just grabbed a water from the base, and then I was like, wow, now, it's great. It's something that I didn't know. Like, I basically didn't have access to it. And when I gave my life to Christ, I hadn't read the whole Bible yet. I hadn't, just by reading a little bit about him at that time, the evidence was sufficient. And if I was logically honest, that was the next logical move. But a lot has changed since last year, because through Christ, if he is the truth, then I had to reorient my life from my worldview, from my perception, from bottom to up. And I started just reading it again, because this time when I read it again, every time Christ would make a statement, it takes me actually like a long time to fully let that digest. I take my time, weeks before I go back to the text. But with all of the challenges, that you switch your worldview comes from, this has been the greatest thing that happened to me. And it answered my initial questions in the most beautiful sense that I can ever explain or express it. The problem of death and love. When I realized that the creator of the universe, the person who had set the dimensions of Earth, who has set the speed of light, who has created everything voluntarily, comes to our creation and not only give us an answer for suffering, he actually engaged in our suffering. And show us love in a way that we can never possibly comprehend. That was the moment for me. I still, it blows up my mind when I think about it. And long story short, I think that this journey has been the greatest for me, and I'm still learning. And I always, I can't express my gratitude toward how much God loves us. And here I am. And I've decided to, record this video for you guys. And there's a lot more that I can share at this time, but I think that's sufficient for this video. And I think that God, the Father, draws us to Him. The Holy Spirit answers our question, and the Son is who we find.